World, this is an urgent address. I've tried for so many days. It's been 123 days since the Lord told me that He was going to send me on a journey that was going to change my generation, that it was going to change generations that have long passed, and it's going to change all the generations to come. It sounded out of this world because it was out of this world. It was directly from God. The Lord told me, He says, I want you to go on a fast. No food, water and herbal tea. So on February 1st, I began this fast. Every day of the fast, beginning on day 1, God began to transform my life. The Lord told me, He says, I'm going to restore your body. I'm going to restore you to the way that I saw you before you fell into the world of sin. He began to reveal in me areas of darkness that were living dormant inside of my heart, things that I had long forgotten. As He began to bring those things to my spirit, He began to take them out. But then He would replace them with attributes of heaven. I went on this journey day in, day out. I couldn't sleep anymore. All I was hearing was the voice of God so clearly, giving me specific instruction each and every day about what to do. My wife couldn't explain it because she had never seen it, but God told me that nobody was going to accept it. Nobody was going to understand because they hadn't seen anything like this in the 21st century. He says this is going to be known as the greatest faith walk of the 21st century, and it all sounded so crazy. But bigger than that, it took a step of crazy faith for me to continue to follow the leading of the Holy Spirit each and every day. One day the Lord told me to give all my clothes away. He says, take it to a drug facility in Detroit. They need it. So I was obedient and I took everything and I gave it to the facility in need. Then God was giving me other specific things to do, which are all documented, and just to make sure that He was having my ear in tune to the Spirit of God and His voice. On day 21, God began to really speak, and He says, prepare yourself. He says, I'm sending you out to prepare you for global revival. You're going to prepare the way for me. He says, you're the carrier of my cross. All this was so crazy to me. I didn't understand, but for night in and night out, I was in the back room in worship all night, and I was just hearing His voice, and I was in the presence, and I was seeing angelic representations, and all this was so foreign to me because I'm not somebody who could just open up the Bible and say, go to this scripture, go to this chapter, and this, and it says that. But this is a spiritual transformation. This isn't a religious move. This is a spiritual move. This is of God. On day 22, He says, you're going to Georgia. I said, what? What am I going to Georgia for? He says, I'll let you know in the morning. So the morning comes. I said, okay, I'm going to Georgia. I don't know why I'm going to Georgia. I'm moving a box of books. I toss the box of books into the closet. One book falls out. The book that falls out, it's a Jentezen Franklin book. God says, that's who I want you to go see. I didn't know who Jentezen Franklin was. I didn't even know where this man was. So I looked it up on Google, and it said that he was at Free Chapel in Gainesville, Georgia. So I told my wife, I'm going to Free Chapel, Gainesville, Georgia, because the Lord told me that He designed Jentezen Hart's heart like mine. So that's where I was going. I had no money. I had to sell a ring. I had that belonged to my grandmother in order to get on the airplane in order to come to Atlanta. I came to Atlanta, I ended up with $20 when I got to Atlanta. Ended up getting stuck at the airport. This is I came into Atlanta the night of February 22nd. You could put the components the timestamps into your footage at Atlanta Airport. You'll see me coming in there. I spent most of the night inside of the IHOP reading in this book, praying, wondering how I was going to get to Free Chapel. I was hearing God so clearly that Jentezen Franklin was the man that I was supposed to go see, that I wrote Jentezen Franklin that morning, like, I need immediate transport to your church. I'm in Michigan, and the way that I seen things in my mind was like, oh, okay, cool. They're gonna send somebody that lives in Michigan. They're gonna give me a ticket. They're gonna get me down there. Of course, none of that happened, and so because God was doing something else, and so I ended up getting to Atlanta and spending that time in the IHOP, and early that morning, I just began doing everything I could. I was desperate. I was like, God, I have to do something. And so I began writing. I wrote this letter here while I was sitting in IHOP to a man that looked like he was a pastor. I never handed him the letter, but I just want to give you an example of the way that I was seeing what God was showing me. I said, I need an Uber from the North Terminal pickup, drop off Free Chapel, Gainesville, Georgia, step on faith. I will pay you back by times 10,000 by this afternoon. All I have is $23, a wedding ring as a faith deposit, and a $180 Invicta watch. And then I put my website on here and said, mighty move of God is about to affect the earth. I didn't hand it to him. I ended up going into the Uber app and tried to process it again, and it worked. It said the Uber showing up to the airport to come pick me up and take me to Free Chapel, Gainesville. I got to Free Chapel, Gainesville on February 23rd. I got there early in the morning. The only people that were there were the worship team and a couple ushers. When I first was pulling up to the door, the praise and worship leader, Jonathan, had a guitar on around him, and he came and he unlocked the door. He wasn't unlocking the door for me, but he was just unlocking the door. He was the first person I saw, a black man. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, he told me to come from Jentezen Franklin. I know he's white, but the first person I see is a black man. So, all right, cool, it's a black church. Not a black church, but there's black people in here, so I felt a level of comfort. And then I walked in and I saw this beautiful place, and I said, wow, Lord, what did you send me here for? I said, this church is beautiful. And the Lord says, well, everything that's beautiful isn't beautiful. He says, now I want you to walk around and begin to lay hands on the seats. I said, God, I'm not doing that. I don't want to bring attention to myself. He says, do it. He says, this is what he's like, I need you to do this. So I began walking around and laying hands on seats. You could, February 23rd, that morning, pop the footage, you'll see me doing this. And I went and stood up all the way in the top corner. I sat there and watched you guys worship practice. I was very impressed at the worship rehearsal. Service started. I enjoyed the service. It was amazing. There was a line to meet Jentezen Franklin. He had a book that just came out, Acres of Diamond. They were doing a signing after service. I was the very last person to go try to get in the line to meet him after the first service. There was a lady that came and got in front of me, and she says, the line stops here. I said, okay, ma'am, that means it's destiny. She says, okay, then. After the second service, I was not in the sanctuary. I was over in the cafe. I was talking to people. I was telling them that I was a missionary from Detroit. But bigger than that, when that morning when I first got there, the first person that I spoke to when worship practice was over, I spoke to Pastor Jentezen, the worship pastor, and I told him, I said, the Lord told me to come here to seek after Jentezen Franklin. I said that the book fell on the floor. I said he looked like Elvis Presley on the book. And I'm like, Lord, you want me to go see Elvis Presley? I'm like, no, I'm good on that. And he says, yes, that's who I want you to go and see. Jentezen Franklin preaches that day. He gets up there that morning. He says, I want to tell you guys about a story. He was like, about the king, Elvis Presley. So he made reference. God was showing me right there. I said Elvis Presley, and he was connecting something in the message. I talked to Jonathan afterwards. His mouth was hanging open. He says, wow, that was crazy. I said, I know. But more than that, it was God. Then the other person I talked to was Pastor Aaron. I told him, I said the same thing. God sent me here. I said, I've been fasting. This is day 23. There's nothing inside me but the Spirit of God. I said, I'm here because I have a message. I have a message to give to Jentezen Franklin. And he was like, oh man, that's cool. We talked about Michigan. He said that he still had a phone number that was linked to Michigan. Every single day, I could tell you every single day of what happened. After the second service, when it was over, I was watching it out on the screens. I went to go get in line. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people everywhere. I go get in the line. The person that was in front of me, two people in front of me, turns around and begins to have a conversation with me. He gives me his phone number and he says, hey, if you want to have lunch, give me a call. I'm like, I never planned on this is it right here. I never planned on calling this man. You know why? Because I knew that once I got up to Jentezen Franklin, that everything was going to be okay. Because the Lord told me to go. He told me to go, and so when I got to him, and I said, my name is Dexter, I'm a missionary from Detroit. The Lord told me to come see you. I said, I'm on day. By the time I said like day, security was saying, hey, come on. So the pastor wants us to get you a meal. I said, I didn't come here for a meal. I didn't come here to take anything. I said, I came here to bring something. God told me I'm here for global revival. God was doing something. God was moving. But they didn't see me. I was judged. I was mishandled. I felt so bad. I had to sit down, and now they're around me asking me questions, and I'm saying, call the FBI, do a background search, please. This is nothing but the Spirit of God. I have a message to give to this man. And they said, no, this is Donald Trump's pastor. You just can't